What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Finance with Jacob. Obviously, my name's Jacob, and today I'm going to be doing a book review for the book named The Everything Guide to House Hacking by Robert Leonard. I don't know a ton about the author, but I know that he is active on some social media platforms as far as he's been in some podcasts that I've seen and some YouTube videos. In addition to that, obviously, he's a real estate investor, so he's got some good insights on this topic, and it's something that he's claimed to have done himself within the book. So for starters, I'm a complete noob when it comes to real estate, the concept of house hacking, and everything in that sphere. So this is coming from the perspective of somebody who didn't really have much of any knowledge coming into it, and seeing what I sort of learned along the way. So what is house hacking? So essentially, house hacking is basically when you have a property that has multiple livable areas, whether this be like a duplex, triplex, quadplex, or even a single family home with multiple different rooms. It's where you're going to be living in one of those sections of the property and then renting out the other sections of them. What this can do is it can, reduce your living expenses. In some instances, it can help you cash flow, it can help you build up some equity faster on the property, and it can also be your first sort of foray into the real estate realm without taking on as much risk. So this book is really great because honestly, it's like a step-by-step guide. I love finance-related books that are really practical in nature and really just give you kind of like step-by-step, sort of like, this is what you can do to start off, this is what you do for the next step, this is what you do for the next step, and so on and so forth. So the book covers a bunch of different topics. So it's like, well, what is house hacking? What are the benefits of it? And it kind of talks about sort of like why living in a primary residence or going out and buying your first home, taking on this huge mortgage, maybe isn't the best approach, and maybe where house hacking can fit in and be something that's better for you. Talks about some of the conventional and unconventional ways to go about it, who your real estate team is, how to sort of find these different deals, and how to analyze them to see if they're going to be profitable, how to sort of just look at the whole picture and go about this process step by step. Like I said, this book is great in the sense that it's really practical in nature, and it does sort of break things out as far as steps. So personally for myself, I'm a complete noob when it comes to real estate investing. I really didn't have all that much knowledge on it. I just knew that, man, these houses are expensive and the cost of living is going up always. So being somebody who was kind of interested in the concept of generating wealth from real estate, this was an awesome book to read because it really sort of opened my eyes to the different potential strategies that I can have. One of the things that I really resonated with in this book, and something that sort of stood out to me, was this concept of comfortability that the author lays out. So what he basically says is the more comfortable a living situation is, the more it's going to cost you. And the less comfortable a living situation is, the more potential money you can make from it, or the less it's going to cost you. So like, for instance, if you're going to go out and you want to have the most comfortable experience ever, you don't want to incur any type of uncomfortability, then just go out, buy your primary residence, your own house, buy the most expensive one where everything's completely updated, everything's been fixed before you go in there. But if you do so, it's going to cost a boatload of money, and you are going to be in a financially tough position because you did that. Whereas if you want to, put yourself in a better situation financially by reducing your expenses, even maybe giving yourself an opportunity to generate some income, then you're gonna have to take on some uncomfortable situations. So whether or not that means the property that you're buying maybe isn't, the most pristine property, maybe there's some stuff in it that needs fixing and you got to go in there and kind of put some elbow grease into it. Or whether or not it's, you're going to live with roommates. So you're going to rent out different rooms and you're going to have roommates with you. Obviously those are not ideal situations. We would all love to just live in our own space and have it just be the perfect space where nothing goes wrong. Unfortunately, realistically, that's just not always something that's an option for a lot of people. So it really sort of gives you that concept to where, like, hey, pick and choose, what are you okay with being uncomfortable with? And whatever those are, see if you can sort of accept those so that you can have sort of a better future going forward. Here's an example of that. So it's just in my sort of normal situation right here. I rent an apartment right now. If you can see, I got a radiator back there. Those things are loud as heck. Sometimes I can't control the heat and it gets really hot in here, but my rent is also really low here. if I went to another place where it just had central AC and a central sort of heating unit that I could actually manipulate the temperature, sure, I'd be more comfortable, but my rent would also be a lot higher. I'm personally willing to put up with some of that uncomfortability so that I can sort of take more of my income and put it towards investing and things like that. I also love with this book that it really gives you sort of that step-by-step plan and really tells you what to kind of do and who to bring onto your team. And it sort of gives you like a whole roadmap before you even go into the process of starting to kind of like find what you want to do, find what house you want, and thinking about the whole process. You should already sort of have a plan built by reading this book. And you can see that there's some resources in the back. So like, for instance, when he's talking about finding a property, right? You got this resource in the back here that lists out like, okay, this is a little area, super simple, that you can just write down the different locations that you're looking at, figuring out, is there any type of population growth in it? What's the income growth? Stuff like that to figure out if the location that you're looking at is actually viable for what you want to do. And this is a trend that continues for other different sections within the book. So you have these helpful resources at the back, which I thought was super helpful. So for example, like your real estate team. So talking about your realtor, who's your handyman gonna be, basically do the work on the front end, figure out who these people are, write down their names, contact information, so that you have everything ready to go once you start diving into this process of wanting to find a house hacking situation. So personally, I thought this book was great. I thought I learned a lot from it, and it definitely inspired me to want to start the process of finding a house hackable living situation. And I'm actually currently trying to do that right now, working with a realtor to look for duplexes in the area. So I thought it was great. I do have one gripe with it though. So in the book, they do mention more resources. For instance, one of them is a house hacking calculator to figure out if the property that you're looking at makes sense on paper with how much you're gonna pay for it, what your interest rate is, how much you can expect to get in rents. So there's supposed to be this awesome calculator that's in here, and the book links to that calculator. But unfortunately, when you go to the website, there's nothing there. So it will say that it's not accepting new subscribers or whatever the case may be. So personally for me, I'm not able to get that resource, which is unfortunate. So I know this book was only written a couple years ago, so I wish that was still up to date and that resource was still accessible, but unfortunately, at least in its current state, it is not. So just sort of acknowledge that if you are considering purchasing this. All right, guys, so that was my review of the Everything Guide to House Hacking. I hope you enjoyed. Have you read this book? If you have, make sure to drop a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you into real estate investing yourself? Do you have any properties that you have house hacked in the past or that you're considering doing in the future? Let me know and subscribe for some more content. I'm hoping to do some more book reviews for business, finance, things like that in the future. So appreciate you guys and check it out.